There is a uniqueness in this Jewish organization whereby you transcends national borders. So you really have a global scope, and the fact that you're here from so many countries and you keep your great work and dedication for the Jewish people and the state of Israel is something that gives us all great encouragement and helps us all. I'm also very pleased to be here with the member of Knesset, Shai Hermesh, one of the great leaders in the Knesset, a man of the South, the Negev, and I'm sure you all will benefit a lot from his participation here. Many friends I see here, Elena Glazer, Ambassador Iran, all of you. Thank you all for coming. Just in respect to what we saw now, before I turn into the issue of Iran, I want to make one point. You know, the war of delegitimization now is the real war. If we look in some perspective over the last 62 or even more years, we have seen that every period there was a real impetus, a juggernaut of the Arab world against us. They tried to take us on first physically, militarily. They couldn't. Then they tried to take us on economically, you know, with a boycott. Not just the normal boycott, there was a secondary and even a tertiary boycott. They couldn't. Look where our economy is now vis-a-vis theirs. So now they try to do it politically. And this is the toughest of all the campaigns that we have now. Unfortunately, we have so far lost the narrative. So we have to start not from point zero, but way below zero. And here, unfortunately, quantity makes quality, because if you have a Palestinian delegation, you know, in any international forum or in any office around the world, you know, they have embassies around the world, and they are part of the Arab League. 22 Arab countries already are in their pocket, which is a part of the OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries, which is 57. So they all vote in one block, and yet this OIC is yet a part of what used to be called the Group of 77, or the non-aligned, which is 118 countries today in the UN, which mostly are not democratic, are very backward, and there is what we call the automatic majority against us. If they want to decide the earth is flat, the Palestinians or the Arabs, the UN will make a resolution, the earth is flat. And this is why we have here an uphill battle. That doesn't mean we have to be discouraged or just to give up altogether. Not at all. We know too well from our history that a repeated lie becomes a truth and a reality, which really motivates anti-Semitism. And today, anti-Israel and anti-Semitism is synonymous, and unfortunately, and we have to fight it. And we have to fight it tooth and nail. And even though it's an uphill battle, we'll have to fight it in the General Assembly, we'll have to fight it in the media, we'll have to fight it in the internet, we'll have to fight it everywhere we can with papers, and for this, you are so important. And this organization, and it's, I think, very important that, you know, we understand what we are in, and it's not just Israel's image here is at stake, but the entire Jewish people. So this is very important that we see all your action here. And also, I must say, you know, we are not alone. We have some decent countries, although we don't have the quantity, but we do have the quality. And we saw it, by the way, just last Friday in Geneva, what is called the so-called Council for Human Rights, which actually turned itself as a council for rights to terrorists, unfortunately. We saw decent countries that did not go with the herd, with the crowd. And of course, first and foremost is the United States, but also decent countries. You know, Western countries did not vote for it. Some just abstained, which is still not good enough, but it's better than what we see. So we can make a change. We can make a difference one by one, and this is what this ministry is going to focus now. The Foreign Affairs Ministry is not going to dedicate itself only to the Palestinian conflict. We have done it too long, 16 years, didn't bring us anywhere. Many methods have been tried to go to the core issues, to try incremental. We have here Ambassador Iran, who headed the Israeli negotiation teams for what, 2 years, 3 years? We know, we tried everything. Unfortunately, I don't see the basic ingredients there, and I'm not going to elaborate too much, of a lasting arrangement. Maybe intermediate, but what I want to say is that Israel cannot afford to continue and subject all its resources, foreign diplomacy, and diplomatic resources and foreign policy resources just to the conflict. We have to get out of that, brand Israel as a real power in innovation, in new agendas, whether it's alternative energy and everything that we are representing here. And of course, always stress our history, our morals. It's very important for us that we keep this country strong, not only strategically and economically and culturally and scientifically, but also from the moral point of view. And for that reason, we will not, no one in Geneva will teach us how to behave. It's important to us and to our values, and this is what we are made of. Now we go to Iran. This is the subject I was called to. Well, let me tell you, again, from a bird's view eye, Iran is trying to be a superpower. How do we see it? Because of the global outreach of its activities. It's not like North Korea, who has or doesn't have 1 or 2 bombs in the cellar in order to extricate some economic benefits, to feed their people, or to get some influence in the very small corner of the world there in the Northeast Asia. We are talking here about a country which is trying to outreach not just to the region, but to the world. Look today, before I get into the nuclear, where is Iran today? Every bad thing in the Middle East starts with Iran, whether it's in Lebanon, which was the only non-Muslim country in the Middle East, the second non-Muslim country in the Middle East. We had a Jewish country, Israel, and a Christian country, has turned to be a Muslim country. There is a Hezbollah organization, which is actually an arm of Iran, doesn't represent Palestinian interest, but they represent Iranian interest, and they are the main threat to the Lebanese people and the government there. It's not Israel, it's Hezbollah. If we look at the Palestinian Authority, it's Hamas, the same thing. Hamas supported by Iran. If we look into the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, it's also supported by Hezbollah and Iran. And the same ways here with Islamic Jihad, whether it's in Yemen, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, they're all over. But they're not only in the Middle East, because they're also trying to very aggressively penetrate into Africa. And Africa is very important to them in terms of natural resources. By the way, also uranium that they are seeking. They are pushing very aggressively into Latin America. We just returned, David Siegel, my chief of staff, and myself returned from San Pedro Sula, that was in Honduras. A few weeks ago, they had this OAS summit, Organization of American States. And we met there, more than 20 members and foreign ministers and leaders. We discussed the Iranian problem, and they all told us, yes, they are everywhere. Unfortunately, they have a support, a logistic, front base in Venezuela today. And through Venezuela, they can penetrate to the entire continent. By the way, we know that it's not the first time they're there. They have tried already in the 80s to penetrate. We have suffered, as you know. The AMIA, the Federation, the Argentinian Jewish Federation in 1994, our embassy in 1992, so we know they have the capabilities. We also know that they have these sleepers, these dormant cells of Hezbollah all over. Very, very bad. Also, they're trying to get political influence, and again, also resources. So you see that they have a global agenda. Now, on top of that, and on top of their very dangerous philosophy and ideology, and which they not only profess, but they work with terrorism, they are seeking these nuclear capabilities. Now, these nuclear capabilities, I believe it's important to stress, is not just an end in itself. It's a means to get hegemony here and to be a world power. Why do they want to be a world power? Out of an ideology. They don't believe in tolerance or in coexistence, certainly not a coexistence from parity. And they would like to take over the Middle East and beyond. The fact that they also, on top of their nuclear activities, they develop very long-range delivery systems which extend beyond the Middle East. Already they have 2,500 kilometers range, but they're working on the drawing board on 5,000, which will cover the entire of Europe, and 10,000, which will cover also, we will get to the United States. So we're talking about a very serious threat, probably the most, I would say, acute threat to world security and peace since the Nazis. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it is also important to stress, the first point, Iran is a global threat. Secondly, once a global threat, it is the responsibility of the international community to stop them. Israel is also threatened, but let me tell you, we have capabilities and I believe we are better equipped than most, if not all countries in the world to defend ourselves. It's a much more threat to the Sunni Arab regimes in the Middle East and to Western civilization at large. And this is why we're very much appreciating the American leadership to take it very seriously, and we hope that they will solve it peacefully. There should be another negotiation term today. I don't know if the Iranians will show up or not. They're procrastinating, they're playing, and meanwhile they're continue to work on their program. And the idea is to change the parameters of the game. So far, the dilemma is ours as the international community. The clock continues to run, they work, and we have the dilemma how to stop them. It's time to turn the table over on the Iranians. So the dilemma will become theirs. That means you stop or else, and they will have to make the decision. I do believe that with a credible threat, diplomatic threat, corroborated with the option of very crippling economic sanctions, the Iranians will stop bluffing, because they are bluffing. On the one hand, they're telling everybody that their nuclear activity is for peaceful purposes. Well, we know they have been cheated all along. The last installation in Qom is just the last example. But secondly, and this is dangerous, they also send a subliminal kind of message that you will not be able to stop us. So don't bother, because it's in the point of no return, or we will get it anyway, so get used to a nuclear Iran. And I say, no way. It's not God-given, it's not predetermined that Iran will become nuclear. And let me tell you here, Iran is a very vulnerable country. It's a weak country, politically and socially. We just saw it last summer with all the follow-up of the demonstrations and the elections follow-up. Even yesterday we saw it, with this in Balochistan, when there is a lot of unrest there, and they have a lot of problems, but economically they're most vulnerable. Iran, with effective sanctions, will not be able to sustain itself for more than 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, which means the survivability of this regime will no longer be. So with all the bravado and the tests and all this very, very harsh and dangerous rhetorics, if we pull together, then we won't have to resort to anything which is not, let's say, which is not diplomatically or economic. It can be stopped. So I think it is important to make sure that people understand it. And I think more and more people, 6 months ago in Europe, you took some polls, Iran was not even on the radar screen. Today, more and more Europeans see Iran as the most dangerous issue. Not the Palestinians, not Israel, not the United States. In the United States, it went up to 66%. 61% of Americans believe that even military power should be used in order to stop Iran. I hope this also will be the case in Central Europe. Actually, Central Europe is no problem, but in Russia and in other Western countries, Latin America, and you have a great role in here. So to sum up, before I leave the floor to you, is Iran is dangerous. Iran has a global reach. Israel is not necessarily should be in the forefront, but we are threatened as all the others. And the most important, I think, point is that it is not invincible. It's a very weak country, and with a judicious and unified approach by the international community, then it can be stopped by peaceful means, but it has to be done very, very soon. By the end of the year, we should know if the Iranians acquiesce or not to these political negotiations that have been started. Thank you very much.